right, let's do it.
In a flat up in Chicago with a keyboard and some tea lives a man with a funnel plan as clever as can be.
Hey, good morning, guys. Spence. 3 minutes late on the start. I am this close. But today, love the intro. It is Friday, November 21st at 10:05. My apologies for being slightly late, and welcome everybody. Let me have a quick sound check and hello. Hello, Kyle. Good morning. I hope to someday visit Costa Rica, by the way. As the rest of you guys pile in, today is going to be an interesting show because I have a new product introduced that is a subset of the larger Minute Launch AI, but also something that developmentally is really interesting to me because I am going to be doing the thing that I always talk about, which is I'm going to make the tools, then use the tools that make the tools to show you how the tools work for the tools that you get what I'm saying. Very meta to create systems and processes that make things much easier in WordPress and at the same time use them live. So this morning, the reason I'm 3 minutes late is I am literally coding 12 to 14 hours a day with my tool friends and testing it. And I want to have this released. Everything is set up today and I'm going to go through it step by step for you guys to start using it today. I'm also going to talk about the difference between the Fluent MCP and the rest of the Minute Launch ecosystem, because that's an example of building something that your customers want, which is really what I'm all about. It's that I like to find problems where they exist. And so many people emailed me since the Minute Launch AI started saying, Spence, I want something that just does this little tiny thing. I would like a sandwich instead of a restaurant. I am not running a diner. I would like something to put in my pocket to eat to go. And since most of the problems that all of us have are solved easily by these tools I'm building, that is what Fluent MCP does. It allows you to have just enough of the modern convenience of this entire new world we're entering into without having to commit to something larger. I'm also pricing it for those that have an affinity historically for my Black Friday lifetime deal offers, which I otherwise hate to do. But this one I don't hate to do because this is one that is, like I say, it's taken a few ingredients out of my larger thing and offering them in a special package for those to whom that might be attractive. So let me set the stage. I'm going to go into full screen share mode today and just browse you guys around. So, you know, everybody who's been here before knows I have to switch still with StreamYard and do this little dog and pony show here. And let me go into Spence sharing the whole screen mode. For some reason, that's not right on the screen, but we'll get there. Fantastic. In fact, I'm going to go into this one. I think I like this better. Let me know if you could see the screen. I'm going to show you a few things. First of all, let's back up the truck. Let's start out with the whole concept of how did we even get here? If one was to go to WP Launchify, and let's not go to the shop, let's go to the main page. The basic premise of WP Launchify has been, since WordPress started, that I am solving the solution for people who have WordPress-based businesses of creating profitable solutions. And I started doing this in 2006 or 7. So we're going on like 19 years, 18, 19 years. Over the years, membership, marketing automation, online courses, e-commerce, this word buddy boss has to be replaced with social networking because it's now FluentCommunity, really, have been my forte. And all of the things that I do come down to solving the problem that people create for themselves of a Frankenstein monster, or what I call shiny ball syndrome / little old lady swallowed a fly. WordPress's ecosystem historically has created endless opportunity for people like myself and my colleagues to build software that is open source but solves people's problems. The difficulty of that is that the human layer of tools has become insurmountable, confusing, abusive, and certain bad actors took advantage of it. And so it's like requiring somebody who owns a house or a car to go down to the Home Depot or the auto parts store and get everything you want to solve all your problems. And it's very compelling to do so. It's very attractive, very sexy. I can fix my own car. I know I can. But then you go down to the store, or better yet, the flea market on Sunday, and you buy a bunch of random parts and chaos ensues. Worse is that WordPress actually does make it possible for ordinary people to build their own businesses or even be an implementer. So you end up buying a bunch of stuff and helping other people and realizing that you're spending days and weekends literally using the tools to do things that coulda, woulda, shoulda been easier had there been a better way. And now the better way is with the Minute Launch AI, that takes what we had success with Minute Launch, which was, what if we gave you all of the traditional software? What if I curated it? What if it had already hosted? What if it had unlimited email support from me, along with all of the things in the community here, so that you just knew the recipe, the formula, the answer? Very similar to like going to IKEA or to the Lego store. You're guaranteed a great lunch, coming home with a living room, dining room set, matching chairs, furniture, as a whole that you can put together with simple instructions. And if you get in trouble, there's a person with a yellow vest. Now, all of that was fantastic. But for the last several years doing Minute Launch, I've spent most of my waking hours helping people, either first person or through my training and other stuff, with the tools. The tools are so egregiously difficult because they're built by a bunch of different people with different mindsets, different goals, and somebody is always having something that bumps into something. So Minute Launch has succeeded beyond my wildest dreams in solving that problem, because Minute Launch was essentially, what if we gave you a system that under the hood had a central controller that was on your desktop? What if there was a dude or a dudette or a thing that literally was like my friend Claude here on the left, that was living within your own private world of access to your email, to your files, to your calendar, to your GitHub, and it could be trained remotely instantly. It could be given all of the skills remotely. It could be instantly able to understand how to operate all of the stuff in WordPress so that you do not have to. Metaphorically, it's your C3PO, it's your R2D2, it is your butler that is a robot that is able to take instructions remotely, but also to interact with you through a new method with voice and everything else. Now, this is blowing people away because this week alone, we've launched, good morning, Marie. This week, we've launched several of my more infamous and wonderful clients like Fred and Doug has had success. I've mentioned these names before. We're on the road, Julie, where they've reached for the stars and achieved it. They've gone full blown. I've published several videos this week with the stuff that I'm doing with Alyssa Kuhn and David Starkey. We have been able to build things with this new method that wouldn't have been possible, first of all, even at all in WordPress, without years and years of developmental experience. But even for me, who has those, I would have not been able to do these projects because they would have been financially and time-wise impractical to spend the days, the weeks, the months to do them. But now we're doing them in days or hours or even minutes. Here's the thing. There is always two competing interests that come up on Black Friday. Number one, everybody's like, hey, Spence, what's the deal going to be this year? And traditionally, I've offered deals on the Minute Launch system, again, not the support part, but the software part, the bundle. And in the past, I've done that on my own Launch Flows, a very popular sales funnel plugin. This year, I decided I've got an opportunity. There is a subset of software inside Minute Launch that is made by the guys at WP Manage Ninja, right? The team, the FluentCart, the FluentCommunity, the FluentCRM. Now, also, I want to clarify because I just said FluentCart. We do not use the FluentCart as part of our larger system solution. We use WooCommerce because FluentCart is very early days. It was just born a month ago, really. I mean, literally. But it has the opportunity, it has a possibility for some situations where somebody needs something lighter. So imagine Minute Launch as IKEA, and imagine what Black Friday requires, what people are asking for is some people don't want to subscribe to the $197 a month. They don't want the whole thing, or they're doing stuff for clients. My clients just want to launch a community where they sell membership, or they just want to sell one product with sales pages, or they want to do basic automation and marketing, newsletters. What if I could take the best parts of Minute Launch and just make a sandwich for people, quite literally, that is a one-time purchase. And then when I say one-time, I don't mean once a year. I mean, that's it, lifetime. And in doing so, I give them the thing that they need to just focus on the 3, maybe 4 things that are important for that particular sandwich. The FluentCRM, the FluentCommunity, the FluentCart. But I throw in, for good measure, the minute launch canvas block, which allows gorgeous HTML5 publications to be done by your agentic partner as well, which is really fantastic. So imagine this sort of combination, one price, one purchase. Now it becomes kind of sexy because you could buy something on Black Friday for $500, $497 to be exact, that you never have to pay for again. You connect, and it's like you've literally bought a personal assistant to run all of your businesses that run that one particular installation forever. I don't provide the hosting for that like I do in Minute Launch. I don't provide any personal support for that. None. I will only respond to things that have to do, there's a bug in the plugin. That's it. I do not have the tools built into that to connect to the other 85 plus systems that you get with Minute Launch. But if all you wanted to do is just have a beautiful community with the CRM capability for marketing, and you wanted to also sell stuff and make beautiful pages, bam, that's enough. And that for $497 one time is a crazy value, as you'll see. More importantly, what if you bought 3 sites and I discounted, right? 3 site licenses for $997. Or if you're inclined for your whole client base, buy 10 of them for $1497. That's what I'm going to show you here. And then we're going to go through some of this because 95% of it is operating. I am working on tweaking the last home run of a few things. All right. So welcome to Fluent MCP. I want to make very clear, because I'm an attorney and I'm also friends with these guys. It says here, minute launch, minute launch, minute launch, minute launch. I coulda, woulda, shoulda. And at first I was thinking I ought to use the logo from Fluent, but I don't want there to be any confusion. I am not selling this in my relationship that I do have with the WP Managed Ninja. I am selling an AI-powered automation that is for the Fluent community, FluentCRM, FluentCart. So the name Fluent MCP, but it's minute launches Fluent MCP, I think fairly and legally and ethically makes it clear. But I just want to say it on the record in case there's any question, because I do have a personal relationship with Shah Jahan Jewel and Foos and some of the other team members there, but this is not something they are selling. I do, however, have the domain, and that is the name of the product. It's called Fluent MCP because that's what it does. Now, second of all, this works with either of the well-known desktop agentic tools. So right now it's talking about things like Claude because Claude is the easiest, but it also works with Cursor. And I know that there are plans for Google and other companies to come out with their own agentic desktop tools, which it will work perfectly fine. What is the Fluent MCP? It is 2 parts. It is number one, and let me explain this. It is a walkie-talkie. Literally a walkie-talkie that you connect to your desktop agentic tool with one little snippet of code that allows the tool to talk to your WordPress site. But that walkie-talkie, think of it as having a set of tools that it can use, like an application, like a command set. Oh, I can do this and this and this and this. There's about 120 of them, roughly. It says 112, but there's about 127 of them. It can do this. So it says, hey, WordPress website, I'm Claude. I'd like to do this stuff over here for Spence because he or she, he's working at whatever. Oh, thanks, Marie. If I don't make this clear, I'm going to actually answer Marie's question. She says, oh, that's helpful to understand. We get it in tandem with the minute launch. Right. Let me answer that question before I go back to my metaphor. If you have the minute launch AI suite, you don't need Fluent MCP for yourself because this is just a subset of the things that are already available in there. Does that make it like minute launch AI is the whole IKEA and the guy with the personal support, and by the way, hosted. Fluent MCP is just a few pieces of it, no support, no hosting. You just take it to go one time, bye-bye. Okay. So the MCP's first part is the walkie-talkie. The second part is the endpoint plugin, the thing that the walkie-talkie speaks to inside of the WordPress site. That's the thing that has the license. That's the thing that has the I'll go back to this in a second, that has the, oh, now I know what to do when the LLM talks to me with the walkie-talkie. You have the basic minute launch, so you do not have any of the AI stuff. So actually for you, Marie, this would be a good, interesting alternative. You could have the basic minute launch, which is just the traditional software only. There's no AI. You could add this one time and get quite a bit of value out of it. Yeah. Not all the features, no support, no hosting, but yeah, you could. That is one of the reasons that we're offering it today. Many people said to me, I have 4 or 5 of them. Spence, I just don't want to subscribe to anything. Oh, Spence, I've got customers that just I want to sell stuff to. Oh, Spence, I'd love to just do a little bit baby version of this. This is a way to get your toes wet in the water for a limited scope of cost and virtually no extra future cost. And for many people, you can buy the support from me a la carte or happily use one of the other tools that I have or services that I have. And we think of it as a whole comprehensive thing. But for just people who want to take something to go, fantastic. Good morning, Julie. All right. So 2 parts to the MCP. It's the walkie-talkie that has a set of instructions it knows it can ask. Then it's the receiver that lives inside of the WordPress side of things that accepts the instructions. And for what it does, we essentially cover, as I'm going to go through this, an amazing array of possibilities. And here's the thing that makes it even cooler. This website that I'm putting together, I am going to be building in person on video with the actual suite of tools. So if you look at the back end here of the Fluent MCP, I have nothing to hide because it literally is not launched live yet. It is live, ready to take your credit cards, but it has not got anything else in it. Notice what I've got. I've simply got the minute launch canvas block. I have got FluentCart. I do have FluentCart Pro just because I do. But you don't need it, by the way. You can use regular FluentCart with this. I have FluentCRM. I have Fluent SMTP. And I have the minute launch canvas block. Now, I have cadence blocks in here, not because I need it for much, but just because there's a couple little components that are nice when I'm doing some of the traditional layouts that I could still potentially use it for. But all of the other layout stuff, including this homepage, we're done, you guessed it, using the very same tool. So what I'm trying to show everybody is, look, I'm using the tool that I built for you to use, and I'm going to show you how I'm using it to make a site that sells the stuff using the very same things you could do, because that's the best way in a sort of meta way to prove that it's got value. So how did I make this page? First of all, this is crazy good to me. Now, I want you to understand, I gave a bunch of information, just prompted Claude, and I said, I want a certain style. Here's certain things I want it to say. Here's certain details. And I'll be damned if that dude didn't put together this crazy, amazing site. Now, there's a few links I want to put in the footer and so forth. But I want to ask you something. Like, can you imagine how much work it would go into building something, including the setup of this, with you doing it on your own versus the time it took me for just asking him to do stuff, including doing the video embeds or whatever. And if you look under the hood, this is built with the tool that I'm also including, which is the minute launch canvas block. So instead of using page builders, you can use Gutenberg's editor, but just put one block in place. And this one block in place can be talked to by the LLM. And we go over here to click on the block. You have controls on the right-hand side that let you do the things that are important for, let's say, I don't want to show the header and footer of the page. I don't want to show the title. I want to show it full width, whatever. And then here's the best part. If you needed to tweak little words, super awesome. You can just click and edit and you can tweak little words. You know, if I wanted to say okay, it's just enough to make this thing awesome. And it keeps it super simple, because when you're using the tool, he or she or it, depending on what you say, can do all the editing you need without you having to worry about that. You can also work with them in a way that is not necessarily it posting everything, but you can do the posting. So it can be like a helper that gives you the stuff, like in a surgical suite, the person assisting the surgeon, or it could be actually doing it for you. But it can also run the site. So for example, create contacts in the CRM, create marketing automations, create community spaces. And I'm going to demonstrate all of that now. I want to give you a heads up on how it works, and I'll set it up. But I also want you to know that I'm going to use it, even though I could on the live site. I have a demo site set up here that I'm using for testing. And I'm going to do two things. First of all, let's nuke the brain of Claude. And I want to explain, if you've never been here before, there are two desktop agents that are very popular right now. One is Claude Desktop. And to edit this, I'm just going to go to the configuration and I'm going to open this file. And the other one is Cursor. And again, these are demo sites, so I don't really care that you're seeing my setup here. It makes virtually no difference to me. I'm going to save this. So when you restart Claude, he has basically a set of tools. If you use Cursor, it has a set of tools as well. And I'm going to clean up a few little doodads here. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Cursor looks like this. Cursor is the tool that most of my clients, let's put up this one here. Here. This is what Cursor looks like. Kind of looks like Claude. Extremely powerful. Extremely fast, can do things that I'm not saying Claude can't do, but can do things professional grade. What I like to say is, and I'm going to zoom in this a little bit, Cursor is kind of like if you hired a taxi cab company or you hired an Uber company. You have an unlimited number of agents that could do your bidding and do it crazy fast. But the interface is a little more complex and the setup is a little more complex. For most people, Morgan Freeman in Driving Miss Daisy is just good enough. And Morgan Freeman here is who I call Claude. And Claude has his limits, but he's also amazingly simple. Notice when I start out, if I look in his tools, he right now has a bunch of tools. Like I've turned him on for web searching and my calendar and my Gmail and so forth. He has auto memory, which is our awesome upgrade for other purposes. Anne's like way longer chat length than Cursor. And that is true too. So when you start to work with these tools, for some reason, the Claude Desktop, and I'm not 100% sure why, seems not happy with, it seems not happy with using the actual tokens it has. But if you're using it in the context of what we're doing here, it actually works out pretty well. I've been really surprised that in the context of him working inside of this Fluent MCP connection, it actually seems to be more efficient. But nevertheless, Anne's correct. One of the differences between Cursor and Claude Desktop is that Cursor goes all day on 200,000 tokens, and Claude Desktop is built somehow or another to run out of tokens like 2 minutes in. But you don't run out like you can't use it. You just have to switch to another chat. All right, I'll show you that in a second. So I've got all these other tools, including developer tools to see the websites, my file system. And here's all of the other connections that I have from the traditional minute launch Claude MCP. This is the one that all of you are using, which is awesome, but it was built before some of these new plugin integrations. It was built before I programmed in the special walkie-talkie tools that know about FluentCRM, or that know about FluentCart, or that know about FluentCommunity, or soon all the other tools in the Fluent suite or WP Fusion and so forth. So if you can imagine, these tools are awesome, but sometimes, and many of you have said, he just doesn't understand what I want him to do something very specific to program my one plugin. And that's because that's coming. That is another reason why I started putting so much effort into Fluent MCP, is it's basically a universal MCP under the hood. It has a ton more capabilities. I just have limited them for this particular instance to just the Fluent tools. For the minute launch people, that will become the minute launch MCP, MCP, and it will have all of the plugins. All those 120 plus plugins will all be able to be controlled and managed easily through the tool. All right, so this is how it works out. If you install the plugin, and here's my demo site, we go to plugins, and you will have two things. You will have a Fluent MCP plugin, which notice is not here, and you will have a minute launch canvas block plugin, which is here at the moment. But let's add the plugin. Pretend that you purchased and you get your download. When you get your stuff, you will have a license key, one per site for whatever you purchased. I'm actually, to demonstrate this, using FluentCart and their licensing control system, because what better way to prove how awesome this is for somebody to do it than to do it myself? But I just happen to have, obviously, I know the guy who works here. I happen to have the latest version of the Fluent MCP. So let me scroll to my infinite number of things here. I'm going to go into my releases, and you can tell I've been hard at work. I'm going to go to 1031, and you simply activate the plugin. All right, now I'm assuming you've got Claude Desktop, and if you've never seen Claude Desktop, just type Claude Desktop, and you could, again, use Cursor. Just download it for Mac or PC. It's free. I would suggest that the free one will really only work so far. You might want to pay for the $17 that it takes for the regular plan. I think that's here. 17 bucks, 20 if billed monthly is probably going to get you enough satisfaction. If you become a power user, you might go higher. I know everybody's had varying degrees of experience with that, but you probably need the pro. The free one is going to get you a few good swings at the plate, and that's about it. When you do, this is what you will be greeted with. And I'll make this a little bigger. If you guys can see this, awesome. Also, let me make sure I fix my alignment here so we can have these sticking together. Okay. So this is what you're greeted with. And this is how simple it is. Step one, install. All right. All you need to do is copy this little JSON file. Then you come on over here and do exactly what I said. You click the little slider and you go manage connectors. And when you do, you can do a couple things. I actually like to go to the developer tab and then edit the config file. And when you do it, will show you in your computer the actual file, which you can open up in a text editor. And then for me, I simply roll my mouse over the last two brackets, paste it, and then this is a little weird. I have to delete those two lines. But what you end up with is you can kind of see the pattern. You need to have a bracket and a comma, and then the rest of it, and it ends with 4 things. I have a picture of it so you can see what it needs to be. And yes, on my demo site, you guys can all see my password because, woo, you're going to break into my free demo server. Okay. Once you save that and close it, the next step is reboot Claude's brain. You have to do this. Why? Because what's happening is, as I just did that, I loaded into his brain essentially a, I'm going to switch modes here, by the way. Let me see, for some reason, I can't see myself. I'm going to put myself into, this is where there we go. What I did was I loaded into his brain a set of instructions on how to use the new tool, right? And in doing so, I wanted to make sure that he has that loaded. In order to make sure that happens, I have to reboot him like almost your old Windows computer, right? Otherwise, his set of instructions is the last thing he had loaded previously, and we won't know for sure if he can talk to it. Once I do that, I simply start up Claude again, and we will be able to see that he's ready to go. And I'm going to put him back into this little column thing. Sorry about that, but it's easier when oops, that is the wrong one. Sorry, guys. Let me actually balance that out again. I'm always bouncing windows around. Not sure why. Okay. Now we click on Claude, and we should see Fluent MCP and then a hyphen and the name of the last 10 digits or the word from the last 10 digits of your site, which is in this case .instawp.co. All right. So we know that that is the particular site that we're working with. Next, we're going to go ahead and do step 2. I've labeled these so it's easy enough for anybody to work with. And notice step 2 is here for Claude, open settings, developer, edit config. We did that. Step 3, restart your assistant. We did that. Let's go to the next testing menu. Here's what we do. We take this copy from the instructions and we give it to Claude. You can use him in the initial chat. You don't have to set up a project yet, but you can start with just, let's see if he's connected. And I'm going to zoom him up a bit so you can see his words better. This will tell us whether he is connected. And he is. So as simple as that, we have now realized the dream that we essentially gotten Claude up and running, connected to our site. And in doing so, let me bring me back over here. And in doing so, we now know for sure that he is able to talk to the tool. Next, do the next step. Configure your LLM. Simply copy this initial statement. And now that we know he's connected, we're going to tell him all of the amazing stuff that he has access to. You can see that it says 116 tools. I don't know why the tool numbers keep varying between 112 and 127. It doesn't matter because that's just like telling him you've got 94 forks. Look at now he's understood. You're absolutely right, Salvador. I apologize. I have 116 tools. And that's it. We are ready to rock and roll with our first simple commands. By the way, for those of you who have been my clients on Minute Launch AI, I hope you notice that it is probably just as easy, maybe easier now, to set this up as it was to do the original Claude desktop. And one of the reasons is because I learned from you, thank you all, what worked and what didn't. And this being a universal installer, the same method works with Cursor as it does with Claude. And this is going to give me a much greater chance at keeping up with adding all those other 80 tools, plugins and stuff. I hope you agree and you see how simple. Now, let's do the basic stuff. Let's just see, for example, the first of 4 instructions to test his systems. List all the WordPress users on my site. This is an easy one. I know he's going to get this. And all we're doing is just testing whether he can use his walkie-talkie to talk to the site. When this comes up, you say always allow. This is him asking for permission. Can I run your site, Spence? And you're going to be like, hell yes, Claude. I'm going to make the instructions bigger on both sides. So look, Ann Stevenson's left over. This is my test site. So I know I have a bunch of people on here that are from testing from various weeks and months. Next, I'm going to use the next question, which is show me all the community spaces. Now, for those of you who have not used FluentCommunity before, FluentCommunity is an amazing plugin, but it's incredibly arduous to set up. It's incredibly difficult sometimes to figure out what is going on things like creating spaces and members and all the rest. Part of the thing that we've done here is to make this easier, making him super powered so he can do a lot of this stuff for us. So let's test him by first asking the basic question, show me all the FluentCommunity spaces. That will acknowledge that he can connect properly. And I do this just once, and you don't ever have to do this for your other clients. This is just to demonstrate for anybody who's never used this before, how simple this could be, because I've had, I forget the exact number, nearly 100 people using the Minute Launch AI, and I've had about 30 really hardcore users who have done really amazing stuff, but some of their experiences have led to this being much easier as an onboarding, and I hope you guys agree, again, if you've done the original one. So now he's listing out all of the spaces. Check, that works. Next, FluentCart. Let's see if he's hooked up with that. List all of the products in my store. Even though he may have 35 tools in there, we just want to make sure he can get to the store and that the walkie-talkie, the REST API endpoints are working. See, look. So he says he's got a 500 error. And this might be interesting because this could be indicative of either A, I've turned it off, or B, I need to go back and test a couple things, which is possibly true. So don't fear. This is one of the reasons I'm still running through unit tests. There's just a couple minor bugs here and there, and this may be one of them because, again, we're still tweaking. I'm going to tell him, by the way, and I'm using my microphone tool. So those of you who've never seen me before, I use a whisper type, but I can use all the built-in tools as well. Let me actually reboot the whisper typer here. It seems to be unhappy with the fact that I'm in a live show. The whisper type, I'm just going to tell him real quick, you know what? We'll come back to that in a second. And let me reboot the mic. Okay. Hi, Claude. We're going to come back to that in a second because, we're still testing some stuff. So let's see if the FluentCRM is working. Let's move on to the next one. Here's your next command. And so what happens is I'm going to give him that instruction. I'm going to also give him this. And I know for a fact that I was having a couple difficulties here and there with FluentCRM. Let's see if we work those out this morning. The neat thing about the Fluent plugins is they all have some form of REST API, but they're all different. And so one of the reasons that this is a valuable tool, in my opinion, professionally, is that it's really hard to keep up with one API from one somebody. This allows me to keep up with 85 to 125 different plugins, custom controls. Like, in other words, it's a universal walkie-talkie for him to do stuff with plugins that weren't built for this. He does have the FluentCRM working, which is amazing. So I'm going to ask him real quick. I'm not too worried about it, but remember with the FluentCart, you may have to go around it slightly different. Give it one more try to see if you can list out the products. And then we'll move on from there to the next step. So let's just give him one more shot because sometimes it's possible that he just made a boo-boo and we're just asking him to double check his work, and that's okay. And now once we do this, think of this like you hired a new employee from Spence's virtual world. And the employee came to your office and he sat down or she sat down at the typewriter, the computer, whatever you're offering, and you're showing him around or her around the way that you do stuff, right? Okay. So he's going to look around and see if he can figure out how to get this answer. And I will continue to improve the product so that it's no longer a question. Okay. So it got the information. It just did it a slightly different way, which again is part of the discovery process of how I build these tools. I have to actually have a relationship with this tool. So let's take a pause for a second. What have we learned or done so far? In about 2 minutes, I installed the plugin. I copied and pasted an instruction set without any technical skills at all that now has made me connect a virtual employee that I've given a name to work on my space. Now, here's the magic trick with Claude. Even though they keep improving their memory, I would make a project. And this is a workspace to work on things so that Claude does not have to think of every possible thing you're using it for, but instead can focus on this one project. So let's make a new one called Office Hours about Fluent MCP. And with this, we can do work. Claude has the capacity to publish. He can use things like this canvas block. The difficulty with the canvas block versus manual is he can publish and it's awesome, but he's actually better when you just say, give me the stuff and I'll publish it. But for example, if I were to go into canvas block, which is not part of the normal MCP, it's just MCP enabled, let's see what happens. He may or may not understand this. And if he doesn't, same like with the other plugin, tweaking a few things here and there, I'll still demonstrate how he can make gorgeous content. Let's see if he succeeds with this. I was having a little bit of a tweaky before we had the show. And let's see if he figures it out. Oh, by the way, one of the things too is he may or may not remember, because I just started a new project, what we were working on, but he needs to know. Let's see if we got I need to tell him what the site is. Okay. So I can tell him the site from here, actually. I can just, copy this stuff. Or I could just give him what I gave him before, but I'm just going to give it to him here because what happens is that was just general instructions about a tool. I want to make sure he understands that he's working on this specific site. He could kind of assume that, but like, let's say you hired an employee and there was 3 file cabinets or 3 client cases. You should probably say you're working on the first case, not the second case. So now that I've given it to him, I think he's ready to go. So let's ask him, just really quickly, see whether or not you can successfully publish to a page using the minute launch canvas block. You were having some trouble with it before the show, but if you can't do that, then give me the HTML in a way I can just copy and paste to show everybody. So what happens is I'm going to ask him to do beautiful pages. I actually made this whole website here with this very same tool. And I, again, have a video of it that will come out, but I'm asking him to do the same thing. So let's see if he succeeds. And then we'll get into some actually interesting examples of how we do this. So what he does, he's calling the tool, and if the endpoint works, which is the walkie-talkie, he should be able to publish it himself. And I didn't tell him what to publish, so he might just publish some AI-looking garbage. But the point is, we can make beautiful stuff. That's not the issue. The issue is just, does his walkie-talkie work, and can he run the tools? And so he's making something interesting. We can peek under his hood here, like the Wizard of Oz, to see what he's up to. All right, he says it's working. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We'll find out. And if it doesn't, we'll do something else. Oh, it succeeded. So pretty crazy awesome. But at the same time, let me show you the superpower. Let's say you had a page or a website like this. It's your client site. It was built in Elementor or Divi or one of these old-fashioned page builders. Let's see if you can carry the load and say, Claude, you are killing it today, brother. You're making me look good. Here is another web page. This is the one that I made with you yesterday. Can you go to this page, get the HTML and CSS, and republish it using the minute launch canvas block so that we have an exact clone of that? Now, it is going to probably tell me something very weird. He's going to give me some copyright BS. That doesn't sound nice, Spence. I don't think you're allowed to do that. I think that the people who control the world are going to be upset if you take it. And literally, as an attorney, it makes my eyes roll. They hard-coded in copyright police to this. But then I will tell him, dude, you know it's my site, or you know it's my client site, and he seems okay with it. This is the weirdness. They are literally hard coding morality and legal opinions into some of the LLMs, especially Anthropic, which I watched a 60-minute show about why, because the founder team of that are awesome, but they're really freaked out. They're freaked out with the capabilities they know we can do with this. And so they're really trying to protect everybody. So I respect that part of it. And there's ways around it. But this is the thing that, if you've been frustrated with a client that has like a dog ate my homework website, or it's on some other kind of a tool, this is how it gets around it. Notice what he's doing. He opened up the browser because he can, and he's examining the site. This is a second browser that I'm showing you here, and he's checking it out. Now, I could make it easier for him, and I could just give it to him, but he doesn't need me to give it to him. He could just see it for himself. So that's the part that, imagine you hired somebody from Spence's virtual world, one-time payment for unlimited assistance to run everything you need to do and never have to touch the WordPress dashboard again. Now, how much would you pay? But that person or thing or it gets better and better over time, and we can give it skills, as I've demonstrated, like here's how to recreate a page, pixel perfect, so that I don't have to tell my client how hard it is to get off of Divi or Elementor or Beaver Builder or something else. So he's making the page as we speak. Making pages is easy. We're going to show you how we can do the other stuff, because I still have 12 minutes, with doing the FluentCRM, the contacts, the automations for the contact. We can show you the spaces or adding a new member. All of that stuff is hard. He can even style the Fluent community. I'm waiting to see what he comes up with, and we'll move on to those other ones, because making pages takes a little bit of time. He literally goes, he's going down the line. You can see under the kimono here. He's just going. So that was a pretty big page. and we can see where he's at with it. He's nearing the bottom. Now, I actually read something anecdotally interesting, which is that this is already here. They only scroll it out to appease human beings. It's actually there. They're just faking that while it's coming out. While he's working on that, let me talk about the offer. So what do you get with the minute launch AI versus the Fluent MCP? Minute launch is the full-blown system. You get with the minute launch AI all the traditional software. That's 125 plugins, everything you ever would have needed, updated in an amazing tool, ready to use. Go to town. I want to tell you the use of these plugins is dwindling because we're replacing many of their functions with what we're doing here. You get optimized hosting with rocket.net, managed by me, security, backups, all of the things, including somebody who's your concierge to make sure you're safe, secure, never get stuck again for you and your clients. And number 3, you get unlimited email support, which is a human being, me, always there to answer your questions via email. And if you need hands-on help, it is available here, a la carte, either $300 an hour or a VIP service, which has become very attractive as of late because my VIP service, unlike hourly, is me making a commitment to finish what you started. Now, there's one human being in the audience who may or may not be listening who is left from my old world, and I owe him a million debts of gratitude. I have something that I have not finished for him for many months now. And the reason is because I had one foot in this world and one foot in that world, and I feel very terribly guilty. So I hope I can make amends to this person this weekend. But for everybody else who starts with this new system, holy cow, we're doing stuff in minutes and days that used to take me 6 months and with no problems. And that's the amazing part. On the other hand, Fluent MCP is the suite of very few things: community, CRM, and cart, but WordPress publishing. And you can add anything you want. But guess what? I'm not hosting it. I'm not supporting it. I'm just updating the plugins and, of course, available if there's something wrong with the plugin. And this means you can purchase one site, one time, $497. You're done. How much would it be worth to you to do some of the things I'm showing you now once and forever? I mean, come on. You literally have a personal assistant to run your WordPress site. 3 sites for $997 reduces your cost down to like $332 a site forever. And then 10 sites is blow your mind, right? $14.97, that's $149.70 per site forever to run the systems, including whatever crazy stuff gets updated. And all of the benefits of this, I hope, become obvious. This does not prohibit you from doing more or using other tools. This is literally just an AI empowered assistant with the brains and the skills to do amazing stuff. All right, let's see what crazy stuff he's cooked up. I'm crossing my fingers. Oh, it's a miracle. He pixel perfect cloned it. Of course he can. This was easy. Why? Well, first of all, he didn't have to convert anything because all of it was already done. But my point is he can do the same thing for stuff that isn't already done. He's been imbibed with the capabilities to take, look, this site and made it this. Notice there's no header here because we just didn't turn the header on the page. I could have him build his header for us. The point is he can change anything on here. I'm not going to do this because you guys know I've done this. He could change the style or the CSS or whatever. And you've already seen with the Canvas block that if I go in any of these other pages from like Minute Launch, I can just preview or change anything I want. I've got a whole wealth of stuff in here. So let's look at some crazy design. This is like the Canvas block. I don't know what this is. This is from last night. I was trying Gemini 3 just to see what happened. All of the hype. When I look in this, the Canvas block, like I showed you at the beginning of the show, lets me preview this. Oh, I was doing the Tony Robbins. I was doing the Tony Robbins sales page. That's what I was doing for Fluent MCP. I'm like, what if that would work? I'll call it the Advantage Summit, right? So super fun. But this is what the Canvas block allows me to do if I want to change it, or I can have him copy paste back in the HTML, CSS, right? All right. So let's move on to the next thing. All right. because they're a very quiet crowd today. I don't know if I'm shock and awe or what's going on. You rock it. That is gorgeous. That is perfect. You're getting a bottle of champagne today. Let's move on to the next thing. Can you please create a new user on the site named John at jingleheimerschmidt.com and then make him not only a user of the site, but also create him as a member and create a new space called John's Space in the Fluent community. That's 3 things. Do it. So imagine you try to run the craziness of onboarding users, approving them as members, selling them stuff, doing automation, adding them to a space, creating a space, all that stuff. What did I just do? I just was like, hey, dude, read my email, or let me just paste something in, or let me just give you this thing, and you're good to go. Marie says, I can't see the overlap now. Let's see. Hold on. Marie, I'm trying to put your comment on this. There you go. You're giving us more questions. Our minds are racing. Well, I hope so. The idea here is, Marie, for you, because I know your particular situation, this might be a nice option because there are folks that are in the entrepreneurial phase of their business who are not sure which direction they want to go, but they really have an emphasis on the community part. And so for me, I think that's where the win comes in on this. The new Fluent MCP site over here that I'm setting up, I am going to turn on a community part of this because I think that's also going to be quite interesting. When he can publish, he can take that HTML5 gorgeous content and publish it into the Fluent community, which, by the way, cannot be done normally. You can't put videos in there normally. You can with this. Okay. Here's what he did. He created his John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. He made a community member and he made a space. Let's check it out. First of all, let's go to users and see if John is there. And if we look down here, John Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too, you know. Next, he probably shoulda, woulda, coulda ended up in the CRM. I didn't even ask about that, but I think that he would have because he should be added as a contact. Let's see if he showed up there. Let's tell him also to do that because we didn't set that up. I didn't ask you to do so, but make sure that John is also added as a contact, please, while I show everybody the rest of what you did. When you set up Fluent CRM, and I haven't done that here, you can have it set up so anybody who's added as a user is automatically added as well as a contact. Let's see what he did with the spaces. There should be John's space. There's John's space, which I'm not a member of, but if I did join it, I probably will see John in there. Now I'm going to ask him too about the members because there's John as the member. So he did all of it. If he does the contact, we're going to be a 4 for 4, which would be super sweet. Okay, so he says he added John now. Let's go in the back end. And we're near the end of the hour, but that's okay. I feel like we really had a great intro here to what this can do. I am going to be making these there he is, John's contact. Fantastic, right? Like, it's crazy. And you notice too, he's in the community, so I can manage the space for John, or he's in, I mean, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. So we covered everything except we covered the community. We covered the CRM a bit. I didn't have time to do automations. I'm going to be making videos about those. We covered I'm kind of blanking, but I want to say we covered the publishing because the minute launch canvas we did. And let's take a chance. I'm going to take a chance on the cart. Ignore the booking here because that's not in the package. That's going to be part of minute launch, but I'm going to take a chance on the cart. Okay. Oh, I'm going to do 2 things. Hey, you know what? Before we go, I got time for maybe 2 more examples. You have a special capability to publish HTML5 content into posts inside of the spaces and to put videos in line. And you know that I've got a YouTube channel at WP Launchify, but grab any video you want, Rick Roll, I don't care. Make a gorgeous HTML5 post. Make it short and sweet that shows everybody how you could take, let's say, for example, the that you just did for that other post example of the HTML5 Fluent MCP site and put that into a post in the space with a video. Show us how you can do that. So what I just did is combine skills. I said, you have a superpower to make a post in a community space that normally people cannot do. Normally you can only put like a limited set of characters and then a video separately. I've given him the ability to do custom publishing, which means that for your courses, for your lessons, for your posts, you can run the community almost like a full comprehensive publishing thing, which solves most of the problems that people have. Because in the past, they're always, that's why I made a different plugin in the past. They're like, Spence, like, why can I only do this and that? And I showed this earlier this week because look, I have all these posts that I made that are essentially as good or better than blog posts, but they're showing up with videos inside of the community space. And this means he can bypass some of these other weird restrictions. Here's the one with the live show with Ann and I, which is an exact duplicate of what I have in my spencerforman.com. So by the way, how did I get him to do that? I just said, go to spencerforman.com and grab this thing and publish it here. Hello. He can do that with the FluentCRM campaigns. He can move this stuff everywhere. Okay. He's making a new one from scratch. We're going to see what he does. But if you follow my drift, he can make content that's HTML5 pixel perfect and put it in posts, in spaces, in pages, in products. He can do it in emails. He can send somebody an email as a draft. He can make them a member of a community. He can run all of this stuff. And the last thing we're going to try, because I'm a little nervous that he's not fully connected yet, but is to make a product, which that's a bridge too far maybe, but we'll see. It's been tricky. I think we got it. He made a gorgeous HTML5 in John's space. So let's see if we can track it down. Now, first of all, it should show up in the feed, and it does. Notice he kind of fell apart there. Hold on, Tiger. I think you may have, this is the first fumble. I still love you, but something you did isn't quite right with the way you wrapped it. Can you look at the other posts like earlier and see how that was done? Because I think you need to adapt this for the specifics of what you're doing here. Look at the other posts in the other feed and you'll see what I mean about the HTML5 with the video. So one of the things that I have to do, kind of training this virtual employee team, is I have to run through a bunch of tests like, hey, sit at the word processor and type 300 words per minute with your eyes blindfolded. And when I do that, I see where they fail and when they succeed. And when they succeed, I high five them and move on. Notice too, this is what we were talking about with Dan. I ran out of quarters, but for no good reason. I have no idea because we didn't use 200 tokens, 200,000. Just click on the office hours and just say this. And it should be enough for him to keep going. Let's see if he remembers what's going on. If not, I have to tell him, remember where you were? But I think they updated the memory, so this is pretty solid without you having to keep saying it. Let's see if he catches on or if I have to stop him. If he comes up with some weird, like, I don't know who you are, we'll have to remind him what he was working on. Oh, okay. See, that was interesting. And by the way, notice I didn't even have to prompt him there. He just kind of like figured it out. So I think what they're doing is they're still limiting us to these little chunks of chat, but they've done something to fix the, like you said when we were talking there, they fixed the connectivity so it understands where he left off without you having to spend a week reminding him. Let me see if he can figure this out. And we've got just a couple minutes over the hour. While that's happening, I just want to remind you guys, jump on this. If you are not yet a Minute Launch AI member, but you're captivated, this is your teaser. You can buy it now. It will be released, I hope, later today. But if you buy now, this is your Black Friday. I can guarantee you, those of you who, by the way, participated in the $250 Minute Launch AI Club, it was $250 for the year to get access to something that is now $2,400. That's the fact, Jack. It was $250. And after I launched it, I realized the value is crazy. It's now $197 a month. And everybody who bought that is grandfathered in. So think about that when I tell you I'm not messing around. I'm offering this now at this price. And we'll see how it does on Black Friday this week. But I suggest everybody to buy them, even if you want to put it on a bookshelf and give it away for the holidays or birthday presents or to your clients. Even if you have Minute Launch AI, you might want to do this, because this is a one-time purchase of a single or a multiple site package. Doesn't get taken away. Minute Launch AI is a subscription service. That's the difference. Okay, crossing my fingers, he figures it out. He sees the pattern. So maybe he just put something weird in. If he doesn't get this, that's okay. I know he can do it because obviously you can see he did it here. But sometimes what happens is he just gets like a little quirky. And that's where, again, my extra training comes in. And that's why I'm saying to everybody, should be releasable today, but maybe tomorrow I might want to run him through a few exercises in the gym. All right, he's going to go for it. And then we're going to go from here to one last thing. And if it works, great. If not, I'll end on a high note and say that I'm open to questions. I'm going to be making tons of content. But to the person, if they're listening, I have pledged 100% to not do anything else until I finish what I had promised to deliver. It's very important to me. My reputation in that regard is the only thing I got. So I'm going to have to put everything on the shelf until then. Okay, let's give it to me, baby. Can you please give me the new post in the format that you know works, and let's do this. Let's see if he does it. By the way, while he's doing that too, for the rest of you guys, here's a couple things to keep in mind. If you are on the Minute Launch system, I want to explain to you what I've also been doing for all my time, which is, in addition to the Fluent MCP, really big updates, really exciting updates. Number one, you may or may not notice in the interface, Word version 3.019 here, which is not important to anybody but me, but there is a button that allows you to auto update the plugin manager, which means that if you're not on the latest version, check on it and you'll get the latest version. Number two, you can refresh all of the plugins that are the virtual plugins, and you'll notice that those will update as well. And you can clear your cache if you need to ensure that you've got the latest thing. This is how we install or uninstall the various things that are virtual, as well as the one static plugin, which is the Minute Launch Canvas block. The Canvas block is available as part of the Minute Launch system and in the Fluent MCP system. Notice the physical plugin right now, I only have the Minute Launch Canvas block, and that is at 2.78, which is a big deal. That is being improved and updated, so please be sure to keep that up to date. Notice I added finally the key manager. This is awesome. We have provisioning now and automatic management. So when you are on my hosted system, guess what other benefit you get? You don't have to buy API keys to do most of the AI stuff, except you're on the hook for your own key.ai if you want to run video, because that is connected to very expensive video generation tools. Like right now it's connected to Veo 3, but it will be connected to Sora. And there are new models that are coming out that are something like 40 cents for it's something like 40 cents for 8 seconds or something like it's not cheap, but it's awesome if you need it. You can do a 30-second video for $1. And if you're in production for a client or something you need it, that could be pretty remarkable. But everything else, the noun project, the open router, the SERP, all those keys I provide you, and you can override them easily from here. So you don't have to go into the actual things to work. Many of you have noticed too, Minute Launch Kit. This is for the Minute Launch customers who don't have a need anymore to use the standalone Launch Kit plugin. Although it's nice to have it, this allows you to manage your traditional software, and you guessed it, and your dude can manage it for you, which means that all of the traditional software that remains can now be easily kept up to date by you or your tool. The other stuff is still pretty much the same, but what has to happen for you guys to understand where we're going is this weekend, I'm going to send out a notice. Everybody has to stop using whatever they might have used Spence Style to do, because I'm going to pull this. I'm pulling the plug on this weekend. If you have any content in there, you're probably not going to find it again. So you'll have to let me know and I'll turn you on independently. You need to move that content into your Minute Launch Canvas block. Easy. Second of all is Deneen and a bunch of other people have been really excited about the new MCP, I'm going to probably deprecate the canvas block. I'm sorry, the Claude MCP and the Cursor MCP in favor of the new universal minute launch MCP, which is basically what you're seeing here. It's the same engine or the same walkie-talkie as the Fluent MCP, but since you're on minute launch, you'll have all of the connections, all of the tools. So a couple housekeeping items. Let's see what we got. He's going for a link, so let's see if he actually posted it and I can find it. I'm going to refresh the page, crossing my fingers because we're overdue. And he did it. So he made 3 minutes ago how AI is transforming. He took essentially the format that it's not exactly me, but it's kind of in the style of the minute launch thing. You kind of recognize that. Super awesome sauce. So last thing, I'm pushing my luck, but I'm going to ask him. You rock. That's awesome. Now, this is kind of weird and you may or may not be able to do it, but are you able to create a product with some of the same kind of elements that we need? In other words, I know I haven't set up the store and everything else, but are you able to make a product? Can you try and show us what that product is? I haven't told him what product or how much, any of this stuff. I'm just asking if you can do it because this is the last thing that I have not fully tested yet. And I'm not really sure if he knows exactly what tool to use. We'll figure it out. Let's see if he can do it. He has a series of tools. We'll see once he says, okay. If we were to go into his back dashboard, we can see the tools that I've imbibed him with, which are here, which is FluentCRM, FluentCart. So products, list products, get product, create product. He's got the tools. Marie says, what about podcasts? Can you take, I got to see what you're writing, but my screen is not showing. Can you take a podcast video, summarize it, and create an article blog post? Absolutely. Give me a link, Marie, and I'll show you how to do that live. If you want, give me a link to something that's public. Okay. By the way, these guys work in teams. So if he's not able to do something or doesn't do it right, like you can use Google Gemini or Perplexity, create the thing and hand it off, right? He's having a similar problem like he had earlier where he's just bumping up against the problem, which I knew he was kind of bumping up against because there's that API issue. Let's see. Might not be fully configured on the site yet. Yeah, exactly. Which is probably true. Let me ask him if he can do it. Hold on. Well, first of all, I don't know. Are you able to actually activate and configure FluentCart to get it going? And second of all, if not, then I suppose, yeah, you could make like a sales page or something, but we already know you can make a sales page. I am almost out of time on the show and I got to run somewhere. So let me know if you can actually activate and configure FluentCart yourself. And then I have one more request from Marie, which is unrelated. Let me know. All right, Marie, if you don't have one, I'll just get a podcast. And your question was, can you take a podcast video, summarize it and create an article? So let's say if I went to My First Million, and I don't know if you go to their podcast, but I think they have a website. And you said video, but like I know it'll work for YouTube. So if I go to YouTube, if the YouTube has a transcript, all right, here's a little secret. It should say CC. If it has a transcript, then it will have the ability to get to the transcript. First of all, you can download the video, but the CC indicates that there's a transcript. And typically, if you go up here or here, you can see the transcript. If you can't get that transcript directly, then he can't do anything because it might be blocked. But here's how I check it. I just do this. I say copy, and then I say, by the way, you can download the audio and do it too. But like I say, get transcript from YouTube video. There's about 1 billion services that will essentially give you that if you just paste in the link. And again, I wouldn't sit here and wait for this one, but most of them are free. If you got the transcript and you give them the transcript like this, you can just copy it and hand it over to him. Okay. She says, can you take this podcast video transcript and create a blog post with this? So I'm going to give him the transcript and I'm going to give him the original. I don't know if this is good, but I'll say copy the share link. I'll give him both and let's see what he does. So he can do the same kind of thing I just showed you with that transcript, but there's specialty tools like this one that are free that are actually a little bit easier sometimes simply because they're geared up to do it. He has to kind of go to the Home Depot of virtual assistants, get a bunch of things, you know, set up an office. And if you do that extra tool step, it's like 13 seconds and you can tell him what page to go to. He could actually do that for you too. But I'm saying those tools are better equipped to just get you the outcome that you need. Let's see what he does though. And I'm going to just give myself a pass on the product thing because I didn't set up the cart. So he's like, dude, I can't set this up. You're not done. I have to go through this process here. Probably there's something in here like you need the store address. Oh, look, see, I'm in test mode. You know, I'll show you in another video. Shame on me. I did set up, by the way, reporting to those of you guys who have asked me, I am not currently using FluentCart for WP Launchify. I'm using WooCommerce and I'm sticking to that. But you know what I'm doing? I'm setting up Fluent MCP, the website, with FluentCart and FluentCRM, and it will talk to my other CRM setup using WP Fusion. So I'm actually doing this as an experiment so I can see in a container if I can build this whole business, and I will report to you guys how it works out. Everything about the Fluent suite independent of my other tools, because I think this offers an opportunity. Oh, one last thing too. It's important to note, this will work with the free plugins of any of the Fluent things as well as the paid. I am not selling their plugins here. You go buy them, you should, the pro versions from Fluent. If you're not otherwise an agency client of mine in Minute Launch, buy the plugins from the author. That's the whole difference. I'm an agency. I give you the plugins and support you. If you're not an agency client, get the plugins from the author, and they have an amazing 40% sale on some of their stuff this week too. All right. He says he published it. It's a blog post. Let's see what he did. I don't see it. Hold on. Publish this on a page like you did at the beginning of the show, because I don't see where your blog post is and you gave me no link. Let's see if he can do that. And then we'll call it a day. If you guys have any more questions, throw them down. Otherwise, I want to thank you for showing up. We had a good crowd today. Good questions. This is live now. You can buy now. The delivery of the plugin will come after I test a few of these little endpoints. I don't want to release something that I have to fix immediately. But also part of the thing is I built these systems that allow me to do what I'm showing you now, which is to say I have probably 40 to 50 independent tools, Fernando's family, working in Cursor on all of my stuff, including my client stuff. So they're actually building and improving, testing and working amongst each other and with me. So I can actually publish stuff really fast. That's how I'm able to do any of this. I have to be revealing to you that I can't really sometimes believe the world that I'm in right now, because there was just 6 months ago, I was just spending a day teaching somebody how to move cadence sliders around or something. And now I'm building platforms and MCP servers, and I'm connecting thousands of people with stuff. And I've got a whole team of people running it, monitoring it, that are all taking my instructions. I'm pretty blown away. Think about that though, when you're trying to say, oh, I'll do this later. These things are newfangled. I'm like, yeah, good luck. By the time it's later, everybody else will be 100 miles down the road, because that's how fast this is going. So Marie, look, check it out. Now I didn't tell him style. So he just kind of did what he did, but look what he did. He took inspiration from my Spencer Foreman, because that's what I've told Fernando. He's my dude. I like the Spencer Foreman style blog post. You will see a familiarity there, but I could tell him to change it. I'm not going to, but you see, like, look, this is how I do. And he probably was thinking like, well, I'm talking to Spence. I probably should follow instructions or I'm going to get fired. And there you go. Yeah. And that is look, Marie's giving me you got it. So I've got the video, I've got the transcript. He wrote a story. He summarized up what's going on with highlights. I mean, good luck trying to do that on your own. All right. I hope you guys, I'm going to put myself on the screen here. Look, that's what it looks like under the hood. This interface has a weird shrinking capacity that I don't understand. So I don't know how to get myself back, but I think I'm in goodbye mode. Go to there we go. Go to FluentMCP.com. Support me, support yourself. Get on board with an insurance policy. Buy one site for $497. Buy 3 sites for $997, and you can sell them off because you know what? I might increase the price for everybody else 10 times. I might not sell it anymore after Black Friday. I might move to Mars. Even better, buy 10 sites. They're $149 each, and you can run 10 clients and do exactly what you think, which is have your pal set up a site and you charge your client, you know, whatever you want to charge them because you paid one time $149. Charge them $197 a month on a $147 one-time investment. Either way, you're supporting what I do here. You're helping yourself and moving the whole thing forward for all of humanity, which is really my ultimate goal. Making money is not my goal. Making money is the thing that allows me to sit here and spend these days like a kid in a candy store. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. And I think that as humans, we are at the juncture of deciding how we're going to treat each other. As a capitalist, I feel it's incomprehensible that people with success and money do not share their wealth, share their knowledge. Unfortunately, at the moment, those of us who are coming from not the very topmost, have to use some of these tools to counterbalance. That is to say, I need to stay alive and feed my family and do stuff too, but I can share with you all of the value propositions that I make along the way. And I think if enough of us start to do this, we wrestle control away from the big 5 companies and the other people that for some reason think that they need to crush all of the rest of us. And I mean that sincerely. It's not politics. It's just there's enough in this world for everybody to live an awesome life. And I hope that that's my legacy, is to I've taught you guys and helped you guys feel empowered to do so. So have a great weekend. Keep in touch. I hope to see you on board. Bye.